Morning, folks. Welcome to the Sunday service of the Vancouver Unitarians, or as we're known in Chinese, Sang Dao Wei, which means Seekers of the Way. I'm Ellie. I'm a member of the worship services team, and I'm one of the folks involved in helping put on today's service, which is coming to you, if you're watching us online, from our sanctuary at the corner of 49th and Oak in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. I'd like to especially welcome all of those of you who are here today in person. I know that there's a World Cup match, and I appreciate that you're all here anyway. I promise that we will not keep you late and you will get to catch the match. You all know that the first goal won't happen until minute 88 anyway, so it'll be okay. We are a community dedicated to spiritual growth, social justice, and reverence for all life. We're the heirs to a spiritual tradition of free thought, individual search for truth and meaning, and compassion, both for each other and for the wider world. We follow in the footsteps of the Unitarians of the past. Their struggles are our struggles, their hopes are our hopes, their dreams are our dreams. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional, unceded, and stolen territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We acknowledge that every one of us is part of a society built on injustices and crimes too grave for me to list here, perpetrated against our Indigenous brothers and sisters. Most of all, we acknowledge that we have our own part to play in healing, reconciliation, and justice. Now I'd like to invite forward, oh wait, no I wouldn't, just kidding. I have one thing to announce and then I'll invite them forward. I have one announcement to make. It's a bit annoying, I apologize. As happens from time to time, there are people on the internet impersonating our minister, Reverend Sean, and sending emails to members of our congregation asking for money, personal information, and so on. A couple important points about that, just for everyone to bear in mind. The first is all official email from our congregation, all of it will come from someone with a vanu.ca email address. So if it's not from that email, if the email address doesn't end in vanu.ca, it is not from us. The other thing is, if you're ever in any doubt, if you get an email and you're like, this seems kind of strange, most things around here aren't that urgent. Come on next Sunday and ask one of us and we can help you figure out if it's legitimate, if there's really a need or something like that. There's nothing that really happens around here that can't wait until the next service. So you always have time to come and ask for help and get some advice. Now, I'd like to invite forward Lorraine and Michael. Oh, Michael's already up here, perfect, to say a few words.
Good morning. My name is Lorraine Stokes, and I am the chair of the worship services team, the team of volunteers that organizes services in the summer, and I am also a board member. I'm here this morning because last week I led a service alongside Michael O'Neill, Cheryl Edmondson, and Tim Smith called How Did We Get Here? Stories from our congregation. After the service, several of you reached out to give us feedback. Some of you were concerned, some were hurt, confused, angry, and surprised at one testimonial that seemed to dismiss the eighth principle. And the way the words were read implied that the Board of Trustees endorsed that perspective. I want to be clear that we, the board, and the worship services team fully support the eighth principle. The four of us that put together your service heard your concerns, and Michael and I are here this morning to apologize. I thought it would be helpful to give you a little bit of background information. A subgroup of the board had been working on engaging the congregation for the past year through the question of the month. Your stories in response to question number 3, what brought you to Vanu, were so beautiful and so moving and thought-provoking that we wanted to share them with you on a Sunday service, consistent with this congregation's commitment to an open pulpit. 3 of us, myself, Cheryl, and Tim, reviewed all of the responses to the questions of the month, looking for stories that were interesting, compelling, and represented different demographics and perspectives. We were focused on the overall stories people told us, and none of us, Cheryl, Tim, or I, noticed the words that have caused such pain. And we didn't recognize that there is a different symbolic meaning when a testimonial is read by the chair of the Board of Trustees. The 4 of us were horrified when we realized what had happened and the hurt that we'd caused. I don't think it is an exaggeration to say we were devastated by our mistake. We want to acknowledge that we, Michael, Cheryl, Tim, and I, have caused hurt, and we are genuinely sorry. The Board of Trustees and the Worship Services team affirm the 8th principle: to promote individual and communal action that accountably dismantles racism and systemic barriers to full inclusion in ourselves and our institutions. The board remains committed to communicating with you, and we will continue to offer questions of the month or conversations of the month in the new year. And as part of that commitment to communication, Michael O'Neill and I are going to be in the fireside room during coffee hour after the service. It's a quieter space, and if you'd like to have a one-on-one conversation with either of us, we are here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. So I am Michael O'Neill. I'm chair of the Board of Trustees. And last week I was asked to participate in the Sunday service. I was asked to do 3 things: do the opening words, read the story for all ages, and read one of the stories from our members of the congregation who are answering the question, how did we get here? So I agreed to read the story from a member of the congregation before having read it. When I did read it before the service, the night before, I should have declined to read it at the service to the congregation. There is part of this script that subsequently caused significant concern amongst members of the congregation. The issue was the phrase, especially the core principles 7 by my count. This refers to the 7 original principles and does not include our current 8th principle. There were some who felt that this might be somehow a tacit or explicit endorsement of the concept or idea that there are only 7 principles negating the 8th. Emphatically, this is not true. With certainty, the board and the worship services team unanimously affirms and endorses the 8th principle. I believe that the vast majority of the members of the congregation also endorse the 8th principle. I made a mistake in reading this script. It was a lapse in judgment. I should have declined to take part in that particular reading. So I wish to apologize to anyone who was disturbed by this, anybody who felt harm or experienced a negative impact. Again, my apologies. I made a mistake. I am sorry. Mea culpa.
All right, thank you, Lorraine and Michael. Now we're going to move into the part of the service where we take time to greet our neighbors and talk amongst ourselves. Please keep your ears open for the first few bars of hymn number 389, Gathered Here, which Chihiro is going to be playing. So chat amongst yourselves.
Our opening words are from the back of the gray hymnal, and there's lots of wonderful readings back there. So I recommend you get a copy somehow and have a look at those readings in the back. Our opening words: we come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment, until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope, is hallowed by our presence together. We'll now light the chalice candle. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Albert Schweitzer. We'll now have the time for all ages, and I think I'm going to just read the story from the pulpit, and you'll see the pictures on the screen. This is Blowin' in the Wind by Bob Dylan, which will be familiar to many of you. And there's a theme that runs through. I don't know if you can spot this, but there'll be one of these throughout many of the pages. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? Yes, and how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man, the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? Yes, and how many times can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. So I've got a few extras. So we won't be singing the children out because they're probably getting ready to watch the game.
Thank you, Carl. A thriving religious community requires gifts of all kinds: time, talent, diligent service, listening ears, joyful hearts, and sometimes Canadian dollars. Each week, members and friends of the congregation contribute generously to our offertory, which helps to sustain and grow the work of our congregation and to build the spiritual home we have all found here. As part of our commitment to social justice, each week we share some of our offertory with other organizations doing good in the wider community. This is called the Outreach Opportunities Fund. Oh yeah, it's up there. This week we're sharing with the Carnegie Housing Project, which works for housing equity and justice in the downtown east side and throughout Vancouver. You heard from them a few weeks ago. They're lovely people. Now I'd like to invite our ushers to come forward. Excellent. The offering will now be received with gratitude. Thank you all. Please join me in the words of the affirmation of gratitude, which are there. We give from our hearts, grateful to share and receive. Hope blooms from kindness. And now I'd like to invite the candle lighting team up to do their thing.
Hello. I'm not going to reintroduce myself again this morning, but I would like to introduce my candle lighter, Jean-Marie. We take time in every service to share our celebrations, our sorrows, our concerns by lighting candles together. As each candle is lit, please take a moment to hold the request in your heart and join us at the end in saying we light these candles together. There is so much turmoil in the world today. We hold those that are refugees, that are fleeing violence, and that are experiencing violence in their hearts. We have one personal candle this morning. Jeannie Corsi would like to light a candle of thanks for all of those that have reached out to her since her recent illness and moved to Granville Park Lodge. She appreciates the visitors so very much. And we end with one final candle for all of those joys and sorrows that we are carrying and that have not been spoken aloud today. Please join me in saying, we light these candles together. Thank you.
We're now coming into the part of the service set aside for quiet reflection, meditation, or prayer. As a prompt for your meditation, I'm going to read one of my personal favorite poems, A Psalm of Life by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And I will tell you in advance, the language in this poem is a little bit dated, but it is still one of my favorites, and I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I do. Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art, to dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul. Not enjoyment and not sorrow is our destined end or way, but to act that each tomorrow finds us farther than today. Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts, though stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb-driven cattle, be a hero in the strife. Trust no future, howe'er pleasant, let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present, heart within and God o'erhead. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints in the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing o'er life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing, shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing. Learn to labor, learn to wait.
beautiful. I started with an idea. Unitarianism is constantly changing. In my life, starting in 1945, I have witnessed big changes in our progressive religion. I thought I would start this sermon with a taste of mid-20th century Unitarian thought. Three men came to mind: Albert Einstein, Albert Schweitzer, and James Luther Adams. Long story short, my research into these three men didn't amount to much, so I started over. I wanted to learn more about three women who led the movement from reason to love. The movement in Unitarianism from reason, excluding emotion of any kind, to love as a source of truth and meaning. The three 20th century pioneers I chose to learn about were Sophia Lyon-Fahs, Lada Hitschmanova, and Rachel Carson. So here's what I learned that surprisingly provided the mid-century soil from which my own Unitarian spirituality grew. Introduction. When I was a child growing up in a Unitarian Sunday school in the 1950s, I was amazed at the combination of fun, science, love, and respect I received throughout my early years. Little did I know that leaders such as Fahs, Hitschmanova, and Carson were responsible, along with others, for nurturing the evolution of our principles, not only by their words, but by their integrity in action, by their examples. Sophia Lyon-Fahs taught, "Life becomes religious whenever we make it so by the depth of our response to it." Lada Hitschmanova told us, "You are needed. The world needs you. Never think you can do nothing." She would be proud of our efforts to support hundreds of refugees coming to Greater Vancouver. When Rachel Carson wrote, "Those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find reserves of strength that will endure as long as life lasts," she might have found deep pleasure exploring our beaches or kayaking our waters. These three remind us that the sacred is as present in the laughter of children as in our moments of communal silence. Each one of them calls on us to live our Unitarian Universalist principles, caring for this land and its people, respecting the interdependent web of all existence and each other, and engaging in the free and responsible search for truth and meaning throughout our lifetimes, remembering that my truth and meaning may not always agree with your truth and meaning. Some humility, some curiosity is needed when we disagree. First, Sophia Lyon-Fahs, the flame of curiosity. Sophia Lyon-Fahs' parents were Presbyterian missionaries in Hangzhou, China, where she was born in 1876. After gaining degrees in education and divinity in New York, she worked for decades to create a new children's religious curriculum. Finally, after a lifetime of designing a new Unitarian curriculum of discovery, writing books for children such as Jesus, the Carpenter's Son, and books for youth such as The Church Across the Street. Finally, at 83, she was ordained as a Unitarian minister. Starting in the 1930s, she created a revolution in Unitarian religious education, moving away from Bible study and toward children's discovery of their own truth and meaning. In the language of her day, she wrote, "We wish children to come to know God directly through original approaches of their own to the universe." In other words, truth is not always handed down. Meaningful truth is often what we each discover I didn't know it when I was a child, but her leadership in Unitarian religious education thinking had a profound impact on me. I was born in 1945 and raised in the Unitarian Church of Our Father, which later changed its name to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Detroit. I remember when I was 9, we learned about Gandhi in India, ahimsa, nonviolence, and satyagraha, truth force. When I was 10, I was in a Unitarian Sunday school class studying Sophia Lyon Fahs' book, Jesus, the Carpenter's Son. The story of Jesus' life as the son of a poor refugee carpenter and his young wife left a deep impression on my understanding of Jesus as a human boy who grew up to become a skilled teacher. Jesus' life was important, not just his death. And his human life remains an inspiration to me. Listen to his teachings about the poor. Learn from his actions in the temple with the money changers. Learn from his Sermon on the Mount, blessed are the peacemakers. Perhaps Jesus inspired Henry David Thoreau with his teaching. And why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Sophia Lyon Fahs taught me that Jesus didn't need to be divine to be inspiring. Here at Vancouver Unitarians, we have Kirsten Moore as our Director of Lifespan Faith Development. Lifespan, faith, development. How's that going in your life? Are you growing in your spiritual life? Here at Van U, it's fine to just rest and retreat, but it's also fine to search, to stretch, and to grow whenever you're ready. We have so many small groups where you can find a home, so many great books in our library. Sophia Lyon Fahs wrote, "Each night a child is born is a holy night." That's often repeated here at Christmas time. And doubt and questioning are not only a right, they are a sacred responsibility. Doubt and questioning are not only a right, they are a sacred responsibility. Second, Lada Hitschmanova, the compassionate healer. Lada Hitschmanova was born to a Jewish family in Prague in 1909. She became a journalist, then a refugee from the Nazis, finally reaching Canada, where in 1945 she founded the Unitarian Service Committee of Canada. Lada Hitschmanova's message was, "Compassion knows no frontiers." Hitschmanova's familiar voice on the post-war radio and early TV, raising funds for feeding the hungry, sheltering those displaced by war, and fostering hope, paved the way for local groups here, reaching out to those struggling with homelessness and displacement due to war, fire, and flood. Her Wikipedia entry says, thanks to her own journalism background, Hitschmanova knew what was needed to make a story and used this expertise to full advantage. Reporters and editors dubbed her the atomic mosquito because of her continuing success in getting good media coverage. She raised over $128 million and tons of used clothing. She challenges us to consider how we respond to the crises around us, from the downtown east side to the refugees arriving from Afghanistan and Burundi. She reminds us the suffering of any human being diminishes us all. Third, Rachel Carson, the quiet prophet of interdependence. Rachel Carson, 1907 to 1964, was a marine biologist and an ecologist before that science of interdependence was even defined, ecology. She was a gifted writer who found that the natural world always gave her something fascinating to write about. She won the National Book Award for her second book, The Sea Around Us. Did you know her writings inspired Al Gore? Al Gore's mother gave him Carson's book, Silent Spring, when he was 14. Years later, when Gore was running for president, he pointed out, when Carson published Silent Spring in 1962, she was the target of a very well-orchestrated, well-financed attack from special interests that were profiting from pollution. He said that her battles prepared him for attacks from fossil fuel corporations when he wrote his first book on climate change in 1992, Earth in the Balance. Rachel Carson's ecological understanding is alive in our embrace of First Nations concepts like all our relations. And our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. Her courage to stand up in Silent Spring for birds and their ecosystems, which were dying from DDT, finds echoes in our own efforts to address climate change, protect endangered salmon, and preserve our old-growth forests in partnership with First Nations. The Tsleil-Waututh Nation has been cleaning its polluted waters since Silent Spring raised the alarm on pollution. And now, wildfires rage, while obscene profits pile up in Canada's banks as they promote tar sands growth. Money doesn't talk, it screams, while nature only whispers a warning until finally she hits back with massive force. Carson tells us the more clearly we can focus our attention on the wonders and realities of the universe about us, the less taste we will have for destruction. Rachel Carson urges us to cultivate a deep gratitude for home, or as Taha says, love where you live. The Fraser River estuary, from Wreck Beach to Boundary Bay, is a key rest stop for millions of birds who migrate on the Pacific Flyway, which extends from Alaska to Patagonia. May we, like Carson, act, even when it is difficult, in defense of the fragile beauty around us. Henry David Thoreau wrote, "In wildness is the preservation of the world." May we protect the wildness of the Salish Sea and the Pacific Flyway. And soon, that means fighting another tar sands pipeline. Mark Carney plans to build a pipeline to Deltaport, the Fraser River Delta, the rest stop for millions of migrating birds. If Deltaport is polluted, if the Salish Sea is polluted, I don't even want to think about it. But we must, remembering that we are not alone. Conclusion. Sophia Lyon Fahs, Lada Hitschmanova, and Rachel Carson each offers a guidepost for the Unitarian Universalist way in Vancouver. Let us grow in love and compassion, inspired by Sophia Lyon Fahs' encouragement that it matters what we believe. By Hitschmanova's challenge, how can we heal the wounds of the world if we do not reach out our hands? And by Carson's conviction that Life is a miracle beyond our comprehension, and we should reverence it even where we have to struggle against it. May we hear the earth's music in soft, serene rain shower, and the laughter in our playgrounds. Maybe we extend love person to person, community to community. In living these values, may our lives become sermons, written not in words, but in our shared experience of this coastal paradise. Blessed be. I encourage you to come next Sunday at 11 a.m. for a dance communion. This dance communion will be led by Laureen Stokes and dancer and choreographer Andrea Cowden. And now let's sing our closing hymn, This Is My Song, which is number 159 in our gray hymnal, and the words will be up on the screen. This closing words are from the back of the gray hymnal by Mary Oliver. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go. So we will now extinguish the flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Let's sing Carry the Flame of Peace and Love until we meet again.